Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter Spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
I do not believe in all the time that we've done classic radio theater, we've ever done an episode of the replacement show for Rocky Fortune starring Frank Sinatra, which was a show starring another screen star, Dane Clark. This program, Crime and Peter Chambers. This episode originally broadcast April 20th, 1954, and it's entitled The Cemetery Attack.
Crime and Peter Chambers. Created by Henry Kane, transcribed and starring Dane Clark. A private investigator, duly licensed and duly sworn. Peter Chambers.
You're a private eye. That's your business. Anything else, that's for laughs. There are no laughs in this one, not unless you're a ghoul. Because you're strolling in a graveyard at midnight. You're walking in a cemetery out on Long Island. That's the job of work you're being paid for. You've got a package in your left hand and a flashlight in your right. Your imagination is starting to do nip-ups. When you get an interruption.
Put out the flashlight.
Yes, sir.
Now reach back and hand me that package.
Well, you're supposed to give me the word.
Word?
Well, them's my instructions, pal. A real melodramatic bit. You're supposed to say a name.
Abner Reed.
Well, that's the jackpot answer. Reach and grab your prize. And notice, please, I've still got my head turned.
And it better stay that way if you don't want holes in it. And you stay the way you are for the next 5 minutes.
But you don't stay the way you are for the next 5 minutes, for two reasons. One, 5 minutes in a graveyard is like, say, 5 years on the French Riviera. And two, you're blessed, or is it cursed, with a large lump of curiosity. So you turn, and you don't turn a moment too soon because you drop. You look to where Mr. Invisible disappeared, but you don't try to go after him because he's gone. And all the way back to town, you ponder about why the guy took pot shots at you. You didn't see him. He made sure you didn't. So why the extra precaution of a spray of bullets? Well, he missed you, so you shrug it off, and pretty soon you're in town. At the fancy Fifth Avenue mansion of Mrs. Abner Reed.
Well, back so soon, Mr. Chambers.
Mission accomplished, milady.
Come in. Please come in, sir.
Mrs. Abner Reed, born Florence Fleetwood Lovejoy, thrice married and rolling, you should pardon the expression, in mucho dinero. Worth maybe $25 million and reputed to be stingy about the whole thing.
Here's your fee, Mr. Chambers, as per agreement. $1,000.
Thank you, ma'am. And now, may I know what it's all about?
You know what was in that package?
Goulash for ghosts.
$250,000.
What?
$250,000.
Look, Mrs. Reed, you have a reputation for being, well, eccentric, but business transactions in the middle of the night in a graveyard.
That wasn't exactly a business transaction, Mr. Chambers.
What then?
It was a delivery of ransom money.
What? You mean I'm mixed up in some kind of a cockeyed kidnapping?
Not exactly mixed up. You were an instrument of delivery. A chore for which you've just been paid.
The police know about this?
Not yet.
Not yet? Well, when do you expect to inform them?
Tomorrow morning.
Look, what happened here?
Well, last night, my husband stepped out for a newspaper.
Huh?
He didn't return for 2 hours. Naturally, I was perturbed.
Well, naturally.
I thought, well, perhaps he'd stepped into a tavern for a drink. But then I got a phone call. He'd been slugged, rendered unconscious, and kidnapped.
Well, how can you be sure?
There was no doubt. It was he himself who was talking to me. with a gun pointed at his head.
I see.
I was told they'd call back this morning, and they did.
Would you be able to recognize the voice?
They're too smart for that. They put him back on the phone.
Oh.
The arrangements were made, and then came the question as to who would make the delivery. You're very well known, Mr. Chambers, and yours is an excellent reputation.
Well, thank you.
They're supposed to return him to me during this night.
$250,000.
I'm regarded as, a rather frugal person, but this is different. We've only been married 6 months, and I believe you know from the newspapers. My husband is 20 years younger than I am.
Yes, Abner Reed, I read about it. And I suppose you want me to clear out of here.
Frankly, I do.
But you are going to the cops with this.
Definitely, tomorrow morning, whether he's returned to me or not. At least then I'll know that I've done what I could to effect his release. They warned me that I was being watched. That if I called in the police, they'd kill him.
Easy does it, Mrs. Reed. Easy. Good night, and thanks. So you go home. You feel sorry for the old gal with the young husband. You think she's nuts not to contact cops, but you can't creep into another person's soul. You go home and you have a bit of scotch and you chase it with another bit of scotch. You've had a tough evening and you're ready to wrap up this day and put it to bed when in the middle of the night you've got a caller. That's the life of a private eye, about as much privacy as a parakeet in a kindergarten. But it can always be a client. Somebody's turned off the corridor lights, and it's pitch black out there. And suddenly, the blackness is punctuated with blazes of light. Oh. You're hit. And you don't know how bad. You get to the phone. Hello? Operator? A hospital emergency. You're under sedatives for a day while they probe for the bullets. Then you're sitting up in the hospital bed, raring to go. But they tell you 5 days. 5 days before they'll let you out of there. And then you get a caller. Amiable, but worried-looking.
Hi, Detective. Hey, you coming around real good.
Hi, Lieutenant. What brings you?
As if you didn't know.
He stares down at you. Detective Lieutenant Parker, New York City Police. Stern, square, and a friend.
That Abner Reed shindig. I hear you were an innocent bystander in the cemetery.
Did they return the guy?
Yeah. None the worse for his experience.
Newspapers got it yet?
No, we're trying to work it through before it gets any publicity.
Well, what kind of a guy is he, this Abner Reed?
Oh, nice enough kid. He used to be a dancing instructor. That's how he met the lady with the bucks.
She been liberal with him?
Liberal as she can be, I suppose. Rich, but plenty tightwad, that one.
What did he do for amusement before he got married?
He ran around a lot. Nightclub stuff and things. Handsome kid. Figures for a lot of gals. Why this line of questioning?
I'm trying to get an idea as to his background. If it was hard guys that he used to run around with, it might clue us to the brains behind this snatch.
It's all been done, my lad, and what we've come up with is a large selection of zeros. Now, let's hear your story, huh?
You give it to him. The whole deal, and his face furrows up as he ponders it.
What makes you a target, Pete?
I wish I knew.
First, the attempt at the cemetery, then the attack at your apartment. You sure you told me everything?
Everything I know, Louis. But I'm going to know more. Somebody sets me up as a clay pigeon, and it becomes my job to find out who's taking target practice. Any objections, Lieutenant, to my sticking my nose into it?
As if my objections could keep you out.
Thanks, pal.
Okay, then I'll beat it now. You get your rest. But remember, when they let you out of here, we work this one together, huh?
Sure enough, Lieutenant.
April 20th, 1954. Dane Clark in Crime and Peter Chambers on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Hi, this is Kyle Horvath with the White Pine County Tourism and Recreation Board. If you want to get away from the big cities and get back to nature this summer, give us a call at 775-289-3720 or visit us online at elinevada.net. There's so much to do and see I can't mention it in 30 seconds, but check out our website and you'll see what Nevada is really all about. elinevada.net or follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Give us a call at 775-289-3720 or visit us online at elinevada.net.
It's a big, bold story set in the heartland of America, along the edge of Lonely Mountain. I am open for business. And so Big William Gorgon, played by handsome Michael James, fiercely set down his Midwest roots.
Oh, darling, we're going to sell bathrobes and raise chickens.
Set his adoring wife, Wilhelmina, portrayed by beautiful Glenda Olsen.
Oh, I love our store, Will.
But they hadn't counted on Big Ralph's bathrobes and cattle store coming to town.
Oh, Will, what will we do, Will?
Will had a plan, a way of facing off against tough Big Ralph. We're going to change the face of America. We're going to advertise.
For what?
With print, broadcasting, and bus benches, we're going to tell people who we are and where we are.
What's a bus?
And so the story of how one man brought advertising to the heartland.
Oh, will it work?
It will. Well, my name ain't Will, Wilhelmina. You got to advertise or we'll die. And so the greatest marketing story of all time is here. Advertise or die, dopey.
Put your message on this national advertising platform. Email classicradiotheater@gmail.com. classicradiotheater@gmail.com. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, more of Crime and Peter Chambers, starring Dane Clark, April 20th, 1954.
Anger and well-being seem to run hand in hand, and as your health improves, so your anger mounts. By the time you're out of the hospital, you're tense as a piano wire and fit to bust wide open. You run around and ask questions. You see Mrs. Reed several times. The husband's in the mute or recuperating, but Parker's interviewed him time and again and has squeezed every possible fact out of him. And now the husband's back in town, but you're not wasting your time there anymore. Parker's an expert, and Parker's already wrung him dry. So now you're sitting in your office and thinking about your next move. And then your next move is made for you. Oh?
Chambers? Peter Chambers?
Yeah, this is he.
My name is Sandra Mantell. I live at 1786 East 54th Street, apartment 2, downstairs.
Yes, Miss Mantell?
Okay, I want to talk to you about a kidnapping. The kidnapping of Abner Reed.
What? What's that?
I'm involved. It was my idea, really. I dreamed it up. I was supposed to get a third, 1/3 share. But I'm not getting it, so I want to talk.
Yes, Sandra.
I want you to make a deal for me, Mr. Chambers. If I spill, I want to be able to cop a plate. If I turn in that state's evidence, I want a suspended sentence.
Well, why are you calling me?
Because I know you're mixed up in it. Because I want you to go to the cops and tell them I'll spill the whole deal. Nobody's going to cross me and get away.
Hello? 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 The address she gave you is near enough. You slam out of the office and you run all the way, and then you're there, apartment 2. And you're in the presence of death, a blonde with blood on her face. Well, there's another blonde standing by, and this one's very much alive.
Who are you?
Peter Chambers. Now, this girl was talking to me when that happened. You didn't do it, did you?
No.
Who are you?
Betty Royal. My name's Betty Royal. I'm her roommate. I've only been her roommate for a week.
Did you call the cops?
Yes, I phoned.
A well-stacked blonde. A beautiful blonde, a live one. The dead one must have been pretty, too. You prowl around and you see the gun on the floor. You see that the receiver's back on the hook, too, but that figures. Betty Royal said she called the cops.
Let me tell you what happened.
Wait. Let me ask the questions, Miss Royal. Now, that gun on the floor, is that yours?
No, that's not mine. I found it.
Easy, does it? Easy.
But
Now, just tell me what happened.
I was coming back from rehearsal.
Yeah?
I'm a ballet dancer. And as I came into the hallway, I heard the shots. I hurried forward, the door opened, and a man came running out. We bumped into each other, and that's when the gun dropped to the floor. He struck me and ran out.
What did he look like?
I have no idea. I came in and I found her. Like that. She was dead.
And then?
I went out in the hall for the gun. I remembered about not touching things. Fingerprints. I kicked it with my foot. I kicked it along until I worked it into the apartment.
Good girl.
Then I picked up the dangling receiver and I called the police.
She's in tears again. And you go to her and you hold her. And she's a cuddly little package. And you think about how sweet this could be under different circumstances. Cops. Lots of cops. Tons of cops. And they're in charge of Detective Lieutenant Louis Parker.
Never fails, huh? When there's a corpse, there's you.
It's mixed up with the other thing, Lieutenant.
What other thing?
You straighten them out on current events. From the phone calling your office to right now.
You wearing a gun, Pete?
Yeah.
Good. Now listen to me. For once, will you listen to me?
Don't I always listen, Lieutenant?
Okay. There's some kind of crazy killer loose, right?
Right.
And he's mixed up with that Abner Reed snatch, right?
Right as rain, Lieutenant.
And you're still unfinished business on his list, right?
Right as a real down
So
for it,
go
Louis.
home and lock the door. You stay there.
Now, what are you going to do in the meantime?
I'm going to work at my trade. But I'll come up and see you, Pete, as soon as I get loose from all this, and then we'll knock it around some more. But don't open your door to anybody but me.
So you go home. You're a good little boy, and you've listened to Papa. You sit around like an old lady with lumbago. But you sit. You do some home cooking and some home drinking. But you sit. Finally, at 2 a.m. Who is it?
Louis Parker.
Oh. Bit of the cup that cheers, Lieutenant?
Yeah, I can use a little cheer.
There you are.
Thank you. It hits the right spot.
Well, look, let's get down to cases, Lieutenant.
Ah, there's my boy. Always in there pitching.
Cases, Louis.
Well, Petey boy, that gun on the floor was the murder gun.
Good.
And we've got a gorgeous set of fingerprints off it. Only prints on it, as a matter of fact.
Good.
So, now we come to the catch.
There's got to be a catch.
The prints match nothing that we've got on file. Don't match anything out of Washington. Where's that leave us?
Way out in left field on a rainy day, but there's no ball game.
Guess who is her boyfriend?
Guess whose boyfriend?
The dead doll? That's Sandra Mantell. Oh, by the way, you know what her business was?
I don't know nothing.
Hooch dancer, burlesque. Pretty good at it, too.
I'm thrilled. Now, who's the boyfriend?
Nicky Darrow.
What?
Nicky Darrow.
Oh, that was a rhetorical what, Lieutenant. It was a what of amazement, a what of astonishment, a what of shock.
Okay, all right. Stop picking on me.
Darrow, huh? Well, don't you call that a lead?
We had him in. We questioned him. We did the fingerprint bit. Total reaction negative. We had to release him.
What time is it?
It's 2:30 in the morning.
Let's get out of here.
Out. Where are you going?
Work. You?
I'm going to sleep. Pete.
Yes, Lieutenant.
Be careful.
Nicky Darrow, a hoodlum with big ideas. Ex-gunman, ex-con, ex-crook. Gone real respectable now. Owner of a fancy saloon. Caterer to cafe society. Big wheel with the theatrical folk. But way down deep under, deadly as a two-headed rattlesnake bent on mischief. You get to Nick's place, which is hopping, and you jostle through the happy people to Nick.
Well, the private eyeball. Long time no see, sir.
Can I talk to you, Nicky?
Sure, talking with you, Nicky's liable to get educated.
He's big, he's arrogant, he's power drunk. He leads you through to the back, and he sits you down.
There you are, Pelzo. Real nice and comfortable. Have a drink, huh, at the house, okay?
Thanks, Nicky.
Waiter, couple of drinks here. Scotch for the eyeball. That's his drink, scotch. Was it tickling you, pal?
That kind of tickling, you can die laughing.
What are you talking about?
Bullets. You on my back, Nicky?
Hey, I don't even know what you're beginning to think you want to talk about.
Somebody's blowing spitballs at me, Nicky. Any idea who?
No, sir, I got no idea who, no how.
Good enough. Now we shift the gear. Girlfriend of yours died today of unnatural causes.
Yeah, so I hear.
Any ideas on that, like who done it?
No, but I'm going to find out, pal. This is one time I'm working on your side.
Okay, now we shift to high. You beginning to stick your dirty mitts into kidnapping, too?
Talk nice to Nicky.
I talk the way I want to talk, to whom I want to talk.
You're a sweetheart kind of guy, a lot of guts. I like a guy with a lot of guts. The answer is no.
No to what?
Have a little sense, pal. The snatch racket is out for any guy with brains. There's easier ways to turn a buck.
That's all. Bye now, Nicky. Live it up. Have fun, big shot.
Hey, there's drinks coming.
We'll skip it this trip. So you're back where you started, fresh out of Leeds. And it goes on like that for the next few days. Long days, lumpy ones, slow moving. And you're wearing your hardware and you're turning to look over your shoulder wherever you are. You've called on Betty Royal a few times, and you like that. You like that very much. And now you're calling on her again, for no reason at all, except that you like that very much. But you find her breathless with excitement.
I found something, Mr. Chambers. I think it could be important.
Pete, not Mr. Chambers. Pete, remember?
Yes, Peter. A little black book. It belongs to... Well, it belonged to Sandra. She must have put it into my bag by mistake, and that bag's been in my locker at rehearsal hall.
Let's see it. A little black book with a lot of names, and not one that means anything to you. But they may mean a lot to Parker. So you latch on to the lovely Betty Royal, who's as lovely and as regal as her name, and off you go, a chattering twosome, downtown to police headquarters, downtown to Detective Lieutenant Parker. And you barge in without knocking because you think you've got right. Only to find that he's got company, so you start backing out again.
From April 20th, 1954, Crime and Peter Chambers, starring Dane Clark on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The conclusion, along with the conclusion of a yours truly Johnny Dollar story, will be coming up next. But first, these important messages.
No offense, but are you a little fat when you look in the mirror? How would you like to learn the secrets to lose 3 to 5 pounds a week easily without joining the gym or going through any crazy diets? It's called Body Sculpt by Med Diet. For the last 2 decades, we've been helping people just like you that have pounds they want to shed. We've helped millions of people lose thousands and thousands of pounds over the years. And now it's your turn. Learn the secrets of how to lose weight with one simple phone call. You'll see an amazing difference in a matter of days. Don't believe us? We'll offer you a money-back guarantee. If you're ready to start losing weight right now, call right now to learn more about your risk-free order to Body Sculpt.
Call for your risk-free offer. 800-738-5332. 800-738-5332. 800-738-5332. That's 800-738-5332.
Are you in bad pain? You know what I mean. Your knees hurt. Your shoulder hurts. Your elbow and back are constantly killing you. And I'm sure you've tried every pain pill or cream available at the drugstore. Am I right? Well, here's something you haven't tried. Pain Magic. Pain Magic is not available at any drugstore. The only place you can get it is by calling the special toll-free number I'm about to give you.
And to make things even better, call right now and find out about our buy one, get one free offer. We're so confident it'll work for you that we offer a free bottle with your purchase. No prescription required.
Call now to learn how you can get Pain Magic and get rid of your pain. Remember, your results may vary.
800-492-8164. 800-492-8164. 800-492-8164. That's 800-492-8164.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of Crime and Peter Chambers, starring Dane Clark, from April 20th, 1954.
Come in, Pete. Miss Royal.
Thank you kindly, Governor.
Thank you.
Company's a tall young man with a bruiser's shoulders and an angel's face.
Lieutenant Parker, I found a little black book. I found it in my locker. It doesn't belong to me. Mistaken bags. It's Sandra's. Sandra Mantell's.
This is the little black book, Lieutenant.
Yes.
Prattling is God's given right to a beautiful girl.
Well, thank you, Peter. By the way, let me introduce Abner Reed. I don't think you two have ever met. Abner Reed, Peter Chambers, Miss Betty Royal.
Oh, how do you do?
How do you do?
Glad to know you. Well, Lieutenant, as we were saying...
Wait a minute.
Situation...
What did you say your name was?
I just told you.
I'm asking him. Come on, fella, keep talking. What did you say your name was?
My name, as the lieutenant told you, Abner Reed. Abner Reed, of course.
You jump him right away. You don't wait. He's big and you want the first punch. And you get the first punch in, but he takes it standing up and lets do a few of his own.
All right, stop it. Break it up. What the devil's going on here?
You slip by a couple of his lefts, and then he's wide open, and you come up with one off the floor, and he catches it clean on the button. And now he's down and out. And he'll stay out until someone brings him to.
You're crazy, man. That's assault and battery. You're going to do time, fella.
Yeah.
Boy, you really flipped your wig this time. Here, let me help you.
Stay away from him.
Now, look, Pete.
Look, you and I, Lieutenant, we've thrown a lot of questions around. There's a couple of answers coming up right now.
Like what?
Like why I was shot at the graveyard and shot up in my apartment. Like why Sandra Mantell was killed. Like why she called me in the first place. Like why that gun has fingerprints.
Easy. One at a time.
Oh, let's take the last one first. Fingerprints on a gun.
Yeah.
A guy dropping it when he collides with a dame. Panicking, running out, leaving it there. Does that sound professional?
Not especially.
Well, a rule's out a pro. What does a rule in? An amateur.
So?
So let's do it right side up now. Now, here's a guy, Abner Reed. He married a large hunk of dough. But he can't reach too much of it because she's frugal.
So?
So at the suggestion of a friend of his, Miss Sandra Mantell, and you'll find, I'm sure, with a good deal of digging, that those two had a close sub-rosa association.
Well, never mind what I'll find out. Let's get this over with first.
On her suggestion, they figured out a beauty. The guy kidnapped himself. Remember Mrs. Reed talked in the alleged ransom discussions to nobody but him on the phone?
Yes.
He knew the old dame. She'd pay and play ball, which she did.
But why? Why were you attacked there in the cemetery?
Because Reed didn't want any remnants hanging around. But, Pete, how did you tab him so quick?
He never bothered to disguise his voice in the graveyard. He figured to leave me there for dead, and this was the first time I've heard it since.
So he punches bullets at you in your apartment, and that time he almost made it.
And then when he wouldn't abide with Sandra, she decided
Everybody's a detective. Although you're 100% right, Betty Lass. She called me, knew where to call me, because she was in it from the very beginning.
He caught her in the act and finished her off.
And if you will kindly use the fingers of that comatose gentleman for the purpose of making fingerprint impressions, I don't have a doubt in the world what you'll find. And so, 1 hour later, Abner Reed is booked for murder and extortion. And you're strolling in the joyful sunshine with Betty Royal clinging to your arm tightly and proudly. And what prettier termination can there be to so unfortunate a circumstance as murder?
And there you've had Crime and Peter Chambers. Dane Clark was starred as Peter Chambers. Crime and Peter Chambers, transcribed, was created, produced, and written by Henry Kane. Others in the cast were Bill Zuckert, heard as Lieutenant Parker, with Evelyn Barden, Patricia Wheel, and Roger DeCoven. It was directed by Fred Way. This is Fred Collins inviting you to tune in next week, same time, same station, for Dane Clark in Crime and Peter Chambers.
April 20th, 1954, Crime and Peter Chambers on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is next.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's Medishare. Maybe you've heard switching to Medishare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for Medishare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. Medishare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of the yours truly Johnny Dollar story, The Shepherd Matter. This episode originally broadcast April 20th, 1956.
From Hollywood, it's time now for
Johnny Dollar.
This is the hotel operator, Mr. Dollar. Were you cut off?
Tell her not to let any more calls in here. Go on. I was cut off, but I'd rather get some sleep now. Anybody phones, just take a message.
All right, Mr. Dollar.
Over there.
Sit down. Put your hands on your knees. Now, just so as you and I understand each other, you make one move. Wiggle a finger, I'll empty this gun right in your stomach. You understand me?
I understand you, Forbes. You're crazy.
Tonight, and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. To Richard Porter, 480 Webster Boulevard, Providence, Rhode Island. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Shepherd matter. I was pretty sick of it and with it when I had Paul Forbes visit me in my hotel room about 7 o'clock in the morning. He'd used a gun in front of me once before to crack my skull. I decided I'd try to avoid that again. So I sat down and I played good. It didn't seem to please him a bit.
You were out to my house about an hour ago, weren't you?
Yeah, I went out to talk to your wife.
Yeah, I saw you. I was across the street watching. I followed you here. Fixing up another deal, huh?
I don't know what you're talking about, Forbes.
I followed you here so we could have a little talk. And we're going to have it, you and I.
You ought to put that gun away and let them take you, Forbes.
Where do you live?
In Hartford, Connecticut.
I mean, where do you live in town here in Providence?
I don't. I live in Hartford.
Where do you practice?
Practice what?
Are you trying to get funny with me?
I don't practice anything here in Providence. I don't live here. I'm just here for a few days.
Doing what?
Working on an insurance matter.
Insurance matter? You're licensed to practice law in Rhode Island?
Oh, you've got something all wrong, Forbes. I don't practice law. I'm not a lawyer. I'm an insurance investigator. I tried to tell you that yesterday morning when you cracked me with that gun. I was called in by Dr. Shepard. He said you threatened his life.
You're lying to me. Shepard called me yesterday morning and said a lawyer named Dollar was on his way over to talk to me about giving Pauline a divorce. You're a lawyer.
I'm what I say I am. If you hadn't started swinging that gun butt around, I'd have told you why I was there yesterday.
You got a billfold or something?
My coat pocket inside on the back of that chair there. I think I know why Shepard called you and told you I was a lawyer. I think he wanted you to attack me and make me
Shut up! You and Shepard are trying to pull something to take my wife away from me. I know that much. And now you're trying to pull something to get out of this jam.
You're wrong, Forbes. I don't know anything about trying to take your wife away from you.
You know I didn't kill Shepard.
How do I know you didn't kill him? You threatened him. Half a dozen people have attested to that. I know you had a reason to kill him. I know every time I've seen you, you had a gun in your hands and you've been swinging it at somebody, particularly me.
You know who did it. You're in on it somewhere. You know who killed Shepard, and you're going to clear me. You're going to tell me, Dollar. I'm going to whip it out of you. You're going to crazy.
All right. Get on your feet. He sat in the chair just the way I propped him there. His eyes looked dull and lifeless, as though he were already dead. I couldn't think of anything brilliant to say or do, so I rummaged around my suitcase and pulled out a bottle. Then I found a pair of glasses in the bathroom and poured a couple of drinks. When I came on out, he hadn't moved from the chair. He looked crumpled, like a worn-out suit of clothes. He made no effort to look at me when I tucked the glass in his hand. Here, try this. Go on, drink it.
Why don't you call the police?
Now, you say you followed me here to have a talk and find out what's what. Now's the time to talk, pal. This thing isn't the best conversation piece in the world.
Leave me alone. Call him in.
You have something going for you here. This gun hasn't been fired. Do you have another one?
No. Dollar, I didn't kill Dr. Shepard. I wanted to more than anything in the world. But I didn't kill him.
Now, look, I want some facts. So let's start with last night. Where were you when Shepard was shot?
How do I know where I was? I don't even know what time he was shot.
All right, let's start with yesterday morning. You slugged me, ran out of the house, jumped in a car, and what happened? Go on, take it from there.
I drove over to Dr. Shepard's office. I was going to have it out with him. He was breaking up my home.
Well, go on. Did you see him?
No. I parked down the street from his office, and then I saw him jump in his car, and I followed him. He came back over here. I knew my wife must have called him to take care of you.
What happened then?
I went over to the park and sat and tried to figure things out. You don't know what I've been through this past year.
All right, go on.
Then I went to a bar. I was hungry. I hadn't eaten all day. I got a couple of sandwiches, and then I had some drinks. I don't know how many. Anyhow, the more I drank, the more hopeless everything looked.
Did you call Shepard?
Yeah. Yeah, I called him from the bar.
Any idea what time it was?
Must have been around 5 or 6. What difference does it all make? I'm cooked, and you know it.
Go on, will you? You called Shepard. Then what did you do?
I told him I wanted to talk to him about everything that had happened. I told him where to meet me.
You mean you wanted Dr. Shepard to come down and meet you so you could kill him?
Maybe I did have that in my mind. I don't know. On the phone, he sounded so calm and said we could talk it out and straighten it out like gentlemen.
Did you talk to him?
No. I didn't see him at all. I waited an hour and he never showed up. I called his office back and the answering service said everyone had gone out for the day and I didn't know what to do. I got back in my car and turned on the radio, and that's where I heard I was wanted for murder. Dollar, I didn't do it. I swear I didn't. I had reason enough, but I didn't. I knew all about the others, but this was serious.
Wait a minute. What others?
Pauline's always had other friends. Friends. I guess... I don't know. I don't guess I love her anymore. I don't know. I don't think she ever loved me. But I needed her. I needed her more than anything this last year or so. And at times I did love her the way it once was. And I found out what was going on between her and Shepard. She wanted a divorce. I wouldn't give her a divorce. If I had let her and Shepard get away with it, would have been too much to take, to ask.
Oh, this doesn't make sense. Even though you didn't love her and she didn't love you, you wouldn't stand still for a divorce action? It sounds stupid.
I just told you. I needed her so much this last year or so. So much.
Still doesn't make any sense, Forbes. Why didn't you let her go?
She knew she didn't have to divorce me. She knew it wouldn't be too long.
What?
Shepard gave me a year. Another doctor in Baltimore, 18 months. Leukemia. Don't you see? She would have been free. They could have waited until I was dead at least. Just that, until I was dead. Couldn't they? Well, couldn't they?
Expense account item 10, $2, sleeping pills. I fed them to him along with a cup of hot chocolate. He looked pretty worn out, and within 15 minutes he was sound asleep in my bed. Item 11, $4.16, one long-distance phone call to a Baltimore clinic where I spoke with a Dr. Franz Mueller. Dr. Mueller confirmed what Forbes had said. Forbes was doomed with an incurable ailment. Item 12, 20 cents, another phone call, this one from the hotel lobby to the coroner's office. I learned that Shepard had been killed by 32 caliber slugs. Forbes' gun, a .32, had not been fired or hastily cleaned. His story was checking out. That left just one small item to be cleared up. Expense account item 13, $4. Taxi fare from my hotel back to the Oakdale home. Special rates for nurses.
Hello. I thought you'd be back to see me. Somehow I'm glad it's you, Mr. Dollar.
Go ahead.
It's an old story. Terribly old and corny. I applied for a job as Dr. Shepard's nurse 5 years ago, and I fell in love with him that very day. I've loved him every day from that time on. 5 years.
Go on.
I don't know when it was when he started up with Mrs. Forbes. I knew she was trying to get a divorce. I knew Mr. Forbes wouldn't stand for it. Then one day, last week I guess it was, I heard Doctor talking to her on the phone. He said, there's a way to get rid of him. I knew he was talking about getting rid of Mr. Forbes.
Did they discuss the part about Shepard getting Forbes to threaten his life in front of witnesses so he could shoot him down when the time came?
No, I didn't know that until yesterday morning. So long ago, it seems. You came to see Doctor, and then you left. I overheard him on the phone again. He called up Mr. Forbes and said Mr. Dollar was coming over to talk about the divorce action.
And he knew Forbes would be upset enough to attack me.
Doctor was very good about anticipating what people would do in given situations. Even me. I was in the office when Mr. Forbes called last night. I saw Doctor put the gun in his coat. I knew he was going down to meet Mr. Forbes and shoot him, so I followed him. He was walking around in the dark looking for Mr. Forbes with a gun in his hand. I ran up to him and pleaded with him not to be crazy, that Mrs. Forbes wasn't worth it. Then he said he was going to kill me, too. We struggled. The gun went off. I don't know how many times.
I can help you, Corinne. You didn't mean to kill him. He meant to shoot you. When all these other details come out, the most they can charge you with is second-degree justifiable or manslaughter.
No, you're nice. But I can't get off.
Huh?
I guess the police haven't found her yet. I went over and killed Mrs. Forbes an hour ago.
Expense account item 14, same as item 1, transportation back to Hartford. The next time you have a doubtful insurance application, Mr. Porter, settle it yourself or call someone else. Don't call me. As far as I can add up, and I'm not going to recheck the figures, expense account total is $485. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Now, here's our star to tell you about next week's intriguing story.
Next week, the case of a lonely heart that found plenty of company in the nearest morgue. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by John Dawson, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Heard in this week's cast were Gene Bates, Virginia Gregg, Russell Thorson, Parley Bear, Herb Ellis, Barney Phillips, and Lawrence Dobkin. Musical supervision by Amerigo Marino. Be sure to join us on Monday night, same time and station, for another exciting story of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
20th, 1956, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. If you enjoy these classic radio theater shows, or you really enjoy, and Johnny Dollar's the one I have to point out the most, because these great sounding shows all came from my friend Ted over at radiomemories.com. He will supply shows to you on cassette, CD, or flash drive for your computer. Just check him out, radiomemories.com. radiomemories.com, and tell Ted I sent you by, won't you please? Also, a reminder that our shows are available at iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, TuneIn, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon, Facebook. Just search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. That's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And by the way, Ted charges a little bit of money for the shows, but he sends them to you, and they sound great. They really do. It's wonderful. Also, I want to remind you that if you can find out more about building a classic radio collection of your own at my webpage, which is classicradio.stream, classicradio.stream. You can stream our shows, learn more about classic radio collecting. Contact me there. classicradio.stream, classicradio.stream. Have yourself a great day, won't you please? And do me a great big favor. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on your radio dial. They'll appreciate it. I know I will. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.